Hello, my name is Amanda Abbington and I am involved in Share a Letter campaign by the wonderful people at Letters Live who raise an awful lot of money for charity all year round. And if you've never been to a Letters Live before, it's lots of people reading famous letters from around the world. And this campaign is to get people to write letters and share letters during this quite difficult time. So I'm reading one. I'm not reading one that I wrote myself because that's too scary. So I'm reading one from the beautiful Dorothy Parker to her publicist, her publisher even, Seward Collins. And she wrote it in hospital in May 1927. So if you want to write a letter, just go to #sharealetter.com or #sharealetter and write one and post it on either Instagram or Twitter, and we can all share our letters together. Anyway, I'm going to read this one now. Dear Seward, honest. What with music lessons and 4 attacks of measles and all that expense of having my teeth straightened, I was brought up more carefully than to write letters in pencil. But I asked the nurse for some ink, just asked her in a nice way, and she left the room and hasn't been heard of from that day to this. So that, my dears, is how I met Major, later General, Grant. Maybe only the trustees are allowed to play with ink. I am practically bursting with health, and the medical world, hitherto white with suspense, is entertaining high hopes. I love that locution. You can just see the high hopes all dressed up being taken to the Hippodrome and then to Maillard's for tea, or maybe you can't, just to hell with that. This is my favourite kind of hospital, and everybody is very brisk and sterilised and kind and nice. But they are always sticking thermometers into you or turning lights on you or instructing you in occupational therapy, rug making, there's a fascinating pursuit, and you don't get a chance to gather any news for letter writing. Of course, if I thought you would listen, I could tell you all about the cunning little tot of 4 who ran up and down the corridor all day long, and I think, from the way he sounded, he had little horseshoes on. Some well-wisher had given him a bunch of keys to play with, and he jingled them as he ran. And just as he came to my door, the manly little fellow would drop them, and when I got so I knew just when to expect the crash, he'd fool me and run by 2 or even 3 times without letting them go. Well, they took him up and operated on his shoulder, and they don't think he will ever be able to use his right arm again. So that will stop the goddamn nonsense. And then there is the nurse who tells me that she is afraid she is an incorrigible flirt, but somehow she just can't help it. She often pronounces picturesque, picturesque, and unique, unique, and it is amazing how often she manages to introduce these words into her conversation, leading the laughter herself. Also, when she leaves the room, she says, "See you anon." I have not shot her yet. Maybe Monday. And above all, there is the kind-hearted, if ineffectual gentleman across the hall where he lies among his gallstones, who sent me in a turtle to play with. Honest. Sent me in a turtle to play with. I am teaching it 2-handed bridge, and as soon as I get really big and strong, I'm going to race it to the end of the room and back. You know, I should love to see Daisy, but it seems that there is some narrow-minded prejudice against bringing dogs into hospitals, and anyway, I wouldn't trust these bastards of doctors. She would probably leave here with a guinea pig's thyroid in her. Helen says she is magnificent. She has been plucked and her girlish waistline has returned. I thought the dear devoted little beast might eat her heart out in my absence, and you know she shouldn't have meat, but she is playful as a puppy and has 9 new toys, 3 balls and 6 assorted plush animals. She insists on taking the entire collection to bed with her, and as she sleeps on Helen's bed, Helen is looking a little haggard these days. At my tearful request, Helen said to her, "Dorothy sends her love." "Who?" she said. "I'm enclosing a little thing sent by some unknown friend." Oh well. And here is a poem of a literary nature. It is called Despair in Chelsea. Osbert Sitwell is unable to have a satisfactory evacuation. His brother, Sacheverell, doubts if he'll everall. This is beyond doubt the dullest letter since George Moore wrote Esther Walter, but I will write you decent ones as soon as any news breaks, and after my death Mr. Conkright Schreiner can put them in a book. The Big Stiff. But in the meantime I should love to hear how you are and whatever, and if in your travels you meet any deserving family that wants to read Mr. Fortune's Maggot, I have 6 copies. Love, Dorothy. Oh, I promised my mother on her deathbed I would never write a postscript, but I had to save the wow for the finish. I have lost 22 pounds.